discrimination. Prejudice and discrimination. I hope this slide is clear to you. You can see the slide clearly. Okay, we will be first doing what is meant by prejudice. Now, what is prejudice? Prejudice, as we know, is referring to the attitude towards a particular group, and usually these kind of attitudes are considered to be negative attitudes. All right, so they are, based upon something which is called a stereotype. Now, suppose if an American is holding a negative attitude towards, let us say, a black or an African person, his negative attitude is based on certain stereotypes. The stereotypes could be that the blacks are usually very unhygienic, the blacks are very callous kind of people, they are very lousy kind of people. So he may hold a cluster of attitudes. So that is referred to as stereotype, right? So stereotype is basically a cluster of ideas or attitudes or opinions that you are holding towards a particular group. So that is referred to as a stereotype, and it is the cognitive component of attitude. Please remember this. The cognitive component is frequently accompanied by dislike or hatred. So that is why there is an affective component, which is of course the prejudice. That is an affective component. All right. So prejudice is the affective component, stereotype is the cognitive component, and discrimination is known as the behavioral component. Now, behavioral component means that since you are holding a negative opinion or hatred towards a particular group, it is getting translated into your behavior, whereby you allow certain people to come into the, let us say, premises of a temple, or you may not allow certain people to come into the premises of a temple, which was happening in our caste system long back. This is discrimination. Many a times we see this discriminatory practices, being, exhibited towards certain people, like people who are having AIDS, or maybe in the case of giving jobs to a physically handicapped person. Though government and many of the private sectors as well as public sector companies, they have special reservations for physically handicapped or physically challenged people. But in a normal, scenario, when in the many of the organizations, physically challenged becomes a kind of barrier in recruitment of a person in a particular job. Okay, so this is prejudice, which is the affective component. We have stereotype, which is the cognitive component, and which is discrimination, which is known as the behavioral component. Now, let us take up the concept of discrimination. As I was discussing right now, discrimination is a behavior directed towards the category members that is consequential for their outcomes, and that is directed towards them not because of any particular deserving. It is not